Hi guys, Christina here. Today on It Is a Keeper, I'm showing you how to make tender, fall apart, barbecue, country style beef ribs. I want to thank the Beef Checkoff for sponsoring this video. They asked me to create a video showing you these incredible barbecue country style beef ribs. My family loves them and I think yours will too. Now make sure you check out the Beef Checkoff for more information and more delicious recipes. There's a link in the video description below. Now, back to these ribs. While they may be called ribs, they're not really ribs at all. First, they're usually boneless and they come from the shoulder area, but they have this incredible, savory, meaty flavor. Make sure you subscribe to my channel below so you don't miss a single recipe. So here we have our country style beef ribs. So these, like I said, are a little different than traditional ribs because usually there's no bone in them. You'll see they're just big, meaty pieces of shoulder meat. This is where it's come from, is the beef shoulder. What's great about this cut is there's a lot of marbling, there's a lot of fat. So we have to cook this low and slow to render that fat out. But the result is a nice, tender, pull apart piece of beef that will just melt in your mouth. It is absolutely incredible. And I'll tell you, I had to make a batch ahead of time for this recipe for a swap out. My kitchen smells amazing. So this is gonna be one of the easiest recipes we've done here on this channel. There are only 3 simple ingredients. So the first is these big meaty beef ribs. So I just have some paper towel here. I'm just going to pat them dry. We want our rub to be able to adhere very well there. Okay, so let me just show you real quick. So if you look at these, they're just big, meaty chunks of beef. Oop, that's a 2-part. I didn't know that was 2. And they're usually cut in slabs like this. So 9 times out of 10, they're boneless. You might find some with bones. So we're just going to take these and we're going to give them a complete coating in a barbecue rub. So you can use any kind of store-bought barbecue rub that you like, or I have a recipe on my website. I will put a link in the show notes below so you can check that out. It is fantastic. So we're just going to generously coat these ribs in the rub. Now, when you use the salt in your barbecue rub, generally it's kosher salt. So what that does is it gets into the meat and really flavors it from the inside out. So I'm just rubbing this coat on here and then flipping them around because we want to make sure we get everything coated really good and when that rub gets into the meat. I like to put my rub in a little bowl like this because my fingers are going between the meat and the rub. And then this way, I can just throw out what I don't use and I'm not contaminating the jar. Okay, so we have a really good coating on here. I'm just gonna rub it all in. And then anything that's on the plate, I'm gonna try to suck that up with the sides here because you wanna get the sides coated too, not just the top and the bottom. So our meat is rubbed, got a nice coating here. The good thing is you can rub these down ahead of time. So you can get this rub on there, cover them, stick them in the fridge, let them hang out. It just really gives time for that flavor in the rub to work down into the meat. Okay. Now, once that's done, I'm going to bring in a foil-lined, I like to use foil-lined baking sheets. You don't have to. I do because it just makes cleanup easier. So I have a baking sheet lined with some foil here, and I'm just going to lay these country ribs on there. Okay, so we have them here. I have another piece of foil. I'm just going to cover my baking sheet nice and tight with this foil. What's going to happen is all the juices are going to start coming out of these ribs and we're going to create like a moist steaming environment here that's going to help cook the beef. Now, while these ribs don't have a lot of ingredients, you do need some time to make them because we're going to take this and we're going to put it in a nice low oven for 2 hours. So they have to really spend some time in there and cook down because we want all that fat to render out and that meat to get nice and tender. So I'm going to put this in a low oven for 2 hours. Then we're gonna do a little bit more to really amp up the barbecue flavor here. Okay, so we have our ribs here. They've been cooking away nice and slow for about 2 hours. So we're just going to take off this top layer of foil. And look at that, the rub really gave them this nice dark color. They shrunk up quite a bit, which tells me all that fat starting to render out. So now we're just going to take some barbecue sauce. You can use your favorite barbecue sauce. I have a great recipe for a 10-minute barbecue sauce. I'll link to the video because you can watch the video or just check out the recipe. I'll put that in the show notes so you can check that out. And we're just going to slather the barbecue sauce on there. You want to make sure you get all the sides. So this one's a hickory barbecue sauce, and I just love the hickory smoky flavor. You can use whatever kind your little heart desires. All right, we have a great coating of the sauce on here. Nice and thick. Okay, so these have to go back in the oven. We're gonna do this part uncovered because we want that sauce to like really become one with our meaty country style ribs here. So we're gonna pop this back in the oven for about another hour, but you're going to want to check them partway through just to see how tender they are. If they're starting to pull apart with stick a fork in them. If the meat is starting to give, you're probably just about done. So just give them a check every now and again, but figure about an hour for this part. I'm gonna pop these in and I'll be back. Okay, so here are our glossy barbecue ribs. I did, when they were done with the 2 hours, I took them out, put another coating on them and just shoved them under the broiler for a little bit just to really amp up that barbecue flavor, but they look amazing. Okay, our ribs are plated up. I'm just going to, there's no nice neat way to eat these. Let me just be the first to say that. You're gonna end up with the sauce on the face and all over your fingers. I'm going to try to be delicate for the sake of video, but just look how that just pulls apart and you can, let me get the shot here better. And you can see how that beef just flakes and it's nice and tender. They're tender. You can feel just that little bit of heat that comes out of the barbecue rub. It does have a little bit of pepper in it, so it's got like a nice little undertone of heat, and then the sweetness and the stickiness from the sauce. You guys, these ribs are incredible. They take some time, but truly, they're pretty much hands-off most of the time. You've got to try them. They're definitely a keeper. Thanks for watching. You can get the printable recipe in the video description below. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss a single thing, and check out the rest of my videos where you can find more of my favorite easy recipes and quick tips. I'll see you next time. Bye.